No country has a perfect democracy. No country has a perfect government. Democracy is a journey of improvement. So how much has Nigeria's democracy improved, and what are the imperfections, and how can these imperfections be removed? Babajide Ogunsanwo is the man with the answers. He's our data scientist and information consultant, and he's here to share insights on the deepening of democracy in Nigeria.
I've got more questions than answers tonight.
Let's hope you can answer them. So let's begin with the first one that I have, which is, before we discuss how to improve security, of the quality of democracy that we're already experiencing, do you want to share any insights from the President's national broadcast yesterday?
I'd like to start tonight. Yes, I will, but I'd like to start from a slightly different perspective, and that's with this, the mirror. You know, it's almost 2 centuries that the German scientist invented the mirror, Justus von Liebig. And the mirror means a lot to different people, and that's because when you wake up, your friends can lie to you about how you look. You may lie to yourself about how you look, but the flat mirror will never lie to you. Tonight, I'd like to put Nigeria's democracy in front of a flat mirror, and this mirror will be the people. And I'll do that later tonight. But you talked about the president's speech. For me, 3 things stand out the most in the president's speech. The first is, this was the president's slowest reading speech. What do I mean? In this speech, the president read at approximately 88 words per minute, his slowest. In 2016, we had seen the president read as much as 100 words per minute. What are the implications and what are the causes for the president reading his slowest speech, slowest Democracy Day speech yet? I'll share that some other day. But the second insight is, it was Democracy Day, but this speech was not just about the state of democracy. It was more about the state of government, the state of governance. The president talked about democracy, but he also talked about security, he talked about infrastructure, and he talked about the economy. Third and final for me, which is the most important, is that, Amarachi, this was the first Democracy Day speech that the president did not use the word corruption. In all of his previous Democracy Day speeches, the president uses the word corruption at least 2 times in each speech. This speech, the president didn't mention anything about corruption. That gives you an inclination of what he's thinking and what he is no longer thinking about.
How significant is that anyway?
The significance is the government came in with 3 promises. Security, which is also mentioned in this speech. The economy, which is also mentioned in this speech. But this time around, no mention on corruption. Why hasn't he mentioned it? And what are the reasons? I think the president's handlers will probably be able to give more reasons, or perhaps the speechwriter of the president. But in all, it was a speech about the state of governance more than the state of only democracy.
Okay, I have more questions, and there are many of them running through my mind right now, but I'm just going to stick to, the ones that we can answer tonight, of course. So maybe we should start taking a look at that mirror, because the question I'm going to ask is how leaders can improve the quality of democracy that we are experiencing.
And how can leaders improve the quality of democracy? And it's about focusing on the perception of democracy as reported by the people. And a group called from the Freedom House, Alliance of Democracies and Lantana, did a research this year in Nigeria, and not only in Nigeria, across more than 50 countries, about how citizens perceive democracy. In Nigeria, these are the results. 84% of Nigerians have the opinion that democracy is important to them. But here's the challenge. Only 31% think that a country is democratic. This survey was conducted with a representative sample size of Nigerians with a margin of error of plus or 3%. The summary from this sample is that majority of Nigerians believe in democracy, but majority of Nigerians believe that the country is not yet fully democratic. That is the challenge today, and that is how Nigerians perceive democracy. The challenge for leaders now will be to look at this mirror, the mirror that Nigerians speak about democracy, and then look at what are the reasons why Nigeria is rated based on the citizens' feedback, Nigeria is not democratic.
So democracy is important to all of us anyway, because the right to, our rights and our freedoms have to be protected, and that can only be done under a democratic system. But it appears to be also very important to people outside of Nigeria, those who are watching, looking from the outside in, especially foreign institutions who have rated the country a hybrid regime. Why so?
And it speaks, again, there are two steps. First is we've looked at how the Nigerians perceive Nigeria, especially from that mirror of democracy that is flat and wouldn't lie. Your second question talks about why have Nigerians rated the country that way? And if we take a look at the Democratic Perception Survey on why Nigeria is rated by the Economic Intelligence Unit as having a hybrid regime, and why even research done by the Latana shows that Nigeria is less free, even South Africa is rated as free, the question then is, what should leaders do? And what leaders should do is leaders should look at the reasons Nigerians are giving as to why the country is rated that way. And here are the top 3 reasons, and these reasons also speak to the solutions. The first reason why Nigeria is ranked as a hybrid regime and also ranked as less free is because of unfair or fraudulent elections. Unfair or fraudulent elections, 84% agree that unfair or fraudulent elections is a threat to democracy in Nigeria. 82% of Nigerians agree that economic inequality is a threat to democracy in Nigeria. And 76% of Nigerians agree that limits on free speech is a threat to democracy in Nigeria. In South Africa...
That third one actually really sticks out, especially with recent events, right?
With recent events. And South Africa is rated as a free nation when it comes to democracy, and the evidence shows that the reason why South Africa is rated free and Nigeria less free is South Africa is performing better when it comes to perceptions on unfair or fraudulent elections. South Africa is performing better when it comes to economic inequality, and South Africa is performing better when it comes to limits on freedom of speech. In other words, if Nigeria wants to deepen its democracy, though there are several things we need to look at, the top 3 things that stand out as priority is that we need to make sure that our elections are not perceived as fraudulent, which means our elections have to be more transparent. There has to be lower economic inequality, and there has to be more degrees of freedom on speech.
And you're speaking about elections right now. You've had leaders say, okay, if you don't like the government, then change it at the next elections. But are elections the only way to achieving democracy?
Elections are about the majority. And at the moment, elections is perhaps the biggest way. But let's not forget that it is not the voting that counts. It is the counting that matters the most. And Nigerians currently feel that they don't count, and so their votes do not count, and so they are not even turning up to vote. And the challenge we face today is that since 2003, those who are eligible to vote, those that are above 18 and above, have consistently stayed back at home. In 2003, 59% of those who were eligible to vote turned out on election day to vote. But since 2003, Amarachi, those who are eligible continue to stay at home. In 2019, saw the worst performance of voter turnout when you look at those who are eligible to vote and those who came out to vote. Only 27% of those eligible to vote came out to vote during the presidential election. Why did this happen? Again, it happened because people perceive that they do not count. And because they feel they do not count, they feel their votes do not count. And when people feel their votes do not count, then they also feel that the government no longer counts to them. And that is the challenge we face today.
And hopefully the government has looked into the mirror sitting right in front of you.
In the final analysis, everybody needs to look at the mirror, because friends might lie to you, you might lie to yourself, but we need to keep putting the democracy that we have today, we need to keep putting Nigeria in front of the mirror. And when we put Nigeria in front of the mirror, then we'll really see the true situation of things.
We'll leave it at that. Babajide, always a pleasure having you here on the News at 10.
The pleasure is all mine, Amarachi.